I thought that I was neurotically afraid of the big C. I used to walk out of my way to avoid passing a sign in a building that had the word cancer on it. Of course, it didn't help knowing that I was already genetically predisposed to cancer. I mean, even my astrological sign is Cancer. But I keep wondering, why did I get this and what did I do wrong? I used to put those little tablets in my coffee that made it really sweet. Hell, I even smuggled the stuff from Canada when it was taken off the market in the US because it was known as a suspected carcinogen. I smoked and I always liked red candies. Red licorice, jelly beans, lollipops, you name it. Even after I heard that red dye number 2 was carcinogenic, I still went for them. I ate red meat, I used hairspray. I ate tuna for lunch almost every day of my life since I could chew. Point is, whatever the American Cancer Society says causes cancer, I've undoubtedly done it. What makes it worse is that I am the comedian who does Roseanne, Dan, and all this stupid stuff, and think it's the most unfunny thing in the world. How could Gilda Radner, whose name was once synonymous with comedy, become synonymous with cancer? What good is that going to do, and how do I make cancer funny? Did you know that over the course of 2020, there's been almost 14,000 cases of cervical cancer? This piece is about a woman who gets diagnosed with cervical cancer at the young age of 40, and all of the bumps along the road of getting a total hysterectomy, going through chemo, and all of the physical and mental barriers along the way. It goes over how she overcomes it and makes good out of bad. This piece is called It's Always Something by Gilda Radner. In the 3 years before my cancer diagnosis, I had begun to change. I overcame my eating disorders, retaught myself how to eat, and left my bulimia far behind me. I started exercising daily with tennis lessons and swimming. I even stopped chewing gum. You see, I followed a rigorous anti-cancer diet. I even had an apron that had from the American Cancer Society that had a big chart on it with everything you weren't supposed to be eating. I suppose I was beginning to care about my life. You see, I had let stress and pressure run my precious life. And once I'd begin to actually catch up, cancer came along and said, "Hey, remember how you tempted death? Well, here's your opportunity." It is so hard for us little human beings to accept the deal that we're given. I mean, we get to live, but then we have to die. You could smoke yourself to death, drug yourself to death, eat yourself to death, or you could do everything right and be healthy and then get hit by a car. It is such an act of optimism to get up every day and get through the day and enjoy it and laugh and all of that and not think about death. Before my surgery, everything had happened so fast. I hadn't realized before my operation that not only would they be pushing poison through my veins, but it would involve a removal of my reproductive organs, a total hysterectomy. When they told me afterwards, I understood the issue was to save my life. There was nothing to say about it. No more biological time clock to worry about. The most important thing was that I was still alive. Almost immediately after my surgery, my oncologist had informed me that I would have to go through 9 courses of chemotherapy, 1 every 3 weeks, and I would begin before I left the hospital once I was strong enough. On November 11th, I lay on my hospital bed like a muppet. It had seemed like many other procedures done to me before. I wasn't sick, I was just asleep. After sleeping for 36 hours, I woke up and felt weird but wired, and went home. During my entire stay in the hospital, I had not once seen my reflection. When I had returned home and saw my reflection in my own mirror, a horror came over me. Total horror. Because I weighed at 95 pounds. I couldn't take a bath. I had to put a towel at the bottom of the bathtub so that my bones wouldn't hit the bottom when I sat down. I suppose it was the first time I was frightened. That actual fear came over me about what might happen to me, what had happened to me. Who was that person in the mirror? Whose image reflected me? Why me? This is cancer. I am only 40 years old and I could die. On some Mondays, Jean drove me to the hospital. I would cry the whole way, screaming and begging to get out of the car, wanting to jump out of the car at the next light and just run across the street and run away. I lay on my hospital bed on that Monday night, knowing the next morning I'd be zapped and doused with chemicals. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run away, leave the hospital, get on a plane and fly to Hawaii. But what would I be running away from? I would be running away from my cure. The night was the scariest time. I woke up in the middle of the night, sweating and out of breath, running from a nightmare that didn't end when I woke up. I would wail like a wounded animal, getting louder and louder and wanting to drown out what had happened. What was happening? What I looked like? What could be? The night was the scariest time. On a Wednesday, it was raining, and I put on a raincoat and went on I went on a walk on my street. A car came by and splashed me with mud. I was sopping wet walking down my street. I began speaking out loud to myself. That's me, Cancer Woman. You can do anything you want to me. I can walk through storms. I can get splashed by cars. I can have millions of treatments. You can radiate me. You can give me poisons. But you cannot destroy me. Because I am Cancer Woman. Cancer isn't polite. It doesn't care about your tennis lessons or therapy, or that you've had 2 miscarriages but haven't given up hope. It hits you at stage 4 and gives you a total hysterectomy all in 24 hours. I will never have a baby, but I am still here because I am Cancer Woman. I wanted a perfect ending, but now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme and some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, or end. The goal is to live a full and productive life, even with all that ingenuity, no matter what happens, whether your cancer flares up again or whether you die. The most important thing is that the days you've had, you've lived. This is called It Is Always Something by Gilda Radner, spoken by me, Jen Gilmer.